Welcome back, viewers, and thank you so much for coming back, for tuning into my channel. And if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe and hit that notification bell so that when I post, you'll be the first person to know. For those who haven't or who are new to the channel, please do subscribe. And for those who are returning, please like the video and also share. Thank you so much for tuning in. Right, so in today's topic, I'm going to be talking to you about chronologies in social work. And in today's video, I'm going to touch two things really. What a chronology is, sorry, three things actually. What a chronology is, why they are important, what it is that they help us with, and lastly, I'm going to give 5 tips on how to come up with a good and robust chronology when you're working with children and families. So chronologies, some of you may know already, this is one of the tools, one of the most important tools that we use in social work to better understand the lived experience of that particular child, or to better understand what's going on with that particular family that you're working with. So I would say chronology is would be a detailed record which outlines the significant events, or changes in the life of that particular child or that family, which is, listed in a chronological order according to the dates as to which that event would have happened. So for example, talking about the birth of a child, that's something that can, be recorded in a chronology. So, they do serve a very vital role, actually, or it's a vital tool for us as practitioners who are working with children and families, because it helps us to capture the most important and significant moments or events in that particular child's life. It also helps us to understand the child's lived experiences and identify patterns of risk, harm, or protective factors over time. It will be, a chronology is a dynamic tool that we use to better understand the lived experience of a child. I think I've already mentioned this already. So it's a list of events which is put in the order of the dates of when those significant events would have happened. So I think I've already answered what a chronology is, and I'm sure you now have a better understanding of what a chronology is. Moving on then to why a chronology is important, I'm going to give you, 4 reasons why a chronology is really important. First and foremost, it captures the significant and important moments or events in a child's life. So, chronology, it documents all those crucial moments or all those crucial significant moments in a child's life or in the family's life. And this helps us to actually map or to actually better understand what is going on for that particular family or for that particular child. Point number 2, it also helps us to better understand the lived experiences of that particular child or children, or for the whole family really. It also gives you life in the perspective of that particular child that you're talking about and the impact of those events in that particular child's life. So that's point number 2 of why, we use chronologies or why they are important. Point number 3 is a chronology also identifies specific patterns or risks and protective factors that could be there for that particular child. It reveals the patterns of to what extent this is affecting that child and what it is in that child's life that is protective of their life. Things which are happening or things which have happened in the past, things going on currently, and it can actually help you to predict what may happen in the future. Remember, in social work, we talk about at risk of significant harm. So the chronology, if you've got a better understanding of the child's lived experiences, it actually helps you to map out or to actually clearly know or see whether this child is going to be continuing to be at risk of significant harm. Because remember, we always say history tells us what's going to happen in the future as well. So that's really, really important. And the last point of why it is important is linked to what I've already said. Is point number 4 is it's important for aiding in decision making. Why am I saying so? Because it supports us as professionals in making informed decisions about the possible interventions which we can talk about. If you have obviously seen a chronology which is dotted with incidents of domestic violence, it already tells you that there is potentially a likelihood that you may need to put in support around domestic violence. If you see there are, significant incidents where children would have gone hungry, it actually tells you what it is that you need to be putting there in place. And if there are also significant incidents where there's issues around neglect, you may actually start to think about whether you need to do a graded care profile or whether you need to be thinking of putting in a family support worker to actually intensively support this family with what is going on. So with those 4 points, I think I've already articulated why a chronology is important and what it is that we use it for in social work. Moving on then to the 5 tips which I'm going to talk about when one needs to complete a robust or a good chronology. Point number 1 is to gather as comprehensive information as possible. Gather as much comprehensive information as possible, which is factual, which is based on evidence as well. So you need to include all the significant events, but you need to be selective so that you don't overwhelm your chronology with unnecessary or irrelevant information. In as much as it needs to be comprehensive, you also need to make sure that it's succinct and straight to the point. Right. Point number 2 is to make sure that you are objective and you are factual. I've already mentioned about being factual in point number 1. So you need to stick to the facts. It's really, really important. Talk about things that you've got evidence about, or talk about things that have been proven. If there is a police report mention about incident of domestic violence which has happened on the 18th of January 2024, police report is the source of that particular information. I think at the end of the video, I'm going to put a screenshot of the subtitles that you may need to be considering when actually coming up with a robust chronology, so that you can be guided really. You don't need to be subjective, and you need to use a clear format. So first and foremost, what would be on your far left would be the date of when that particular incident happened, and then followed by the significant incident or event that would have happened that you need to write about in short, not necessarily 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs in the same box. It doesn't necessarily need to be that. And then followed by the impact. What is the impact of that significant event on the life of the child or on the family? If it is, a family, obviously the child will be living with their parents and other extended family members. And then on the last bit would be the source of the information. What's the source of that information? If you got that information from a police report, you need to actually indicate that it's coming from that. If it's from the local authorities file, you need to indicate that it's coming from the local authority file. It's from the school, or if it's from another professional, you need to indicate that. So you need to be factual. You need to present the chronology in an easy to read manner with dates and brief descriptions of each and every significant event that you're going to be including in your chronology. So that's really important. Then point number 3 is to make sure that the chronology is updated regularly. We always say, if you can update your chronologies every 3 months, that's something which you need to consider, especially if you're in the long-term team. You need to make sure that your chronology is kept current by adding new information as it becomes available, so that it speaks to exactly what is going on for that particular child. There's no point having a chronology which is dated 6, 10, 8 months ago, or even a year ago. It needs to be current, because remember, things can happen anytime, and you need to make sure that chronology is at hand. And remember, when you do your application to court, a chronology is part of the most important documents that you'll be submitting in court as well. Right. Point number 4 is to analyze patterns of what's going on. Remember, we spoke about the chronology being able to tell us what might likely happen, and you can also see the trends of what has been going on for that particular child in the chronology. So it's really, really important to have that kind of analysis from any chronology that you're working on. That chronology can also indicate what could be the ongoing issues for that particular child or for that family, really. And the last point is on you being able to reflect on the impact of that significant event on the child. So remember, I spoke about column 1 with the date, column 2 with the significant event of what would have happened, and then the third section would be talking about the potential impact of what has happened for that particular child, the potential impact of that significant incident to that child or to the family. And then the last column would be talking about the source of that particular information. So it's important for you to make sure that you reflect on the impact, or you need to consider how each and every event recorded in that chronology has affected the child and the family. So you need to collaborate with others and actually make sure that the information you are actually putting in there is factual. Then the last thing that I'm going to be talking about is to remind professionals that you remember, chronology is not just a list of dates and events. It needs to speak to the life of that particular child. Remember that section which talks about the impact, you need to bring out what it is that is the impact of what has happened on that particular child. Remember, it's an analytical tool which requires careful thought and which requires regular updating, as I've said, and it needs to be reflecting and giving a true narrative of that particular child's life. It's a foundational element of our relationship-based approach to the practice that we do with children and families. And if there are issues that you may need to actually discuss with the family, it may be easy to actually come out, even bring out the chronology and say, look, from my records, this is what I've recorded in terms of what has been going on with the child. This is what I've recorded in terms of what has been going on with the family. And it's easy for you to actually convince the family to see that there is actually a problem for them that needs to be dealt with. Because sometimes, because they may actually lack that ability to actually put the things into context. So with the chronology, it will be easy for you to have that conversation with the family. So with those few words, I hope you have managed to grasp something, and thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe and hit that notification bell so that when I post, you'll be the first person to know. And thank you so much for watching.